This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Whether you're selling a little or a lot, Shopify helps you do your thing, however you cha-ching. From the launch your online shop stage, all the way to the we just hit 1 million orders stage. No matter what stage you're in, Shopify's there to help you grow. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/special offer, all lowercase. That's shopify.com/special offer.
Hello and welcome to Want to Hear Something Weird? A weekly weird podcast about weekly weird stuff. I'm one of your hosts, Tom.
I'm one of your other hosts, Laura.
Wow, you're really going for the spooky voice this week, huh?
Yeah.
It's like an unseasonably cool day in New York City here. And
don't tell them where we live.
For August at least. So we have all the windows open. And right before we started, I heard something through the window and I forgot the windows were open and I thought there was a man in our apartment.
Oh.
But it's
And
fine.
Now this is how you decide.
I went through that entire thought process in the course of a nanosecond in case I needed to respond.
I see.
Mm-hmm.
Great. And also because it's so unseasonably cool.
Yeah.
It's starting to feel autumnal.
Yeah. It's feeling folly. I saw today that Peacock, I guess they're doing their, press or whatever of like, hey, don't cancel us just because the Olympics are over. And they're declaring it like Halloween time already or whatever. And they're doing a bunch of Halloween stuff already.
Wow.
It's August.
Wow. There was, what was it called? There was something about Summerween or something.
Summerween? Oh, is it the Peacock
or
thing?
Something.
No.
Oh, I don't know. I thought it was just
everybody's
like a trend.
going. People can't wait. They're going Halloween crazy already.
People, as soon as it hits, 80 people, all right, well, that's enough, and let's take it back down. And
although I did see, I forgot to save it to show you some kind of like a chart or whatever about all the different actual seasons of New York City. It's like, I don't know, like a dozen.
Mm-hmm.
And the person was just pointing out, like, just so everybody knows, this is fake fall. Like, here it is right in the list. Because that's what it feels like.
It does, and it's going to go back up in just a matter of days. Well, Tom, today I want to talk about a topic that I've wanted to talk about for a while, but I haven't.
You've been afraid to bring it up to me. Is this a conversation we should be having off mic?
Maybe.
Okay.
But it's more interesting to let the world hear.
No, it applies to both. I'm a werewolf.
Fairies.
Fairies. Oh, okay.
So there's a very, very well-known story called the Cottingley Fairy incident, or whatever you want to call it.
I thought you were going to say Peter Pan. I think that's probably a more well-known story featuring a fairy.
Well, that one's fiction.
Depends on who you ask. Yeah, it depends. I mean, that's what Robin Williams' wife thought in Hook.
It's fiction?
I
forgot the details of that movie.
He was Peter Pan. He was a grown-up Peter Pan.
Oh. This story, there was a movie from 1997.
Okay.
There's actually two movies about the same incident, but the one that I knew was called Fairy Tale: A True Story.
Okay.
And Fairy Tale is all one word, no space.
Okay.
But this cast, I didn't remember, but Peter O'Toole plays, spoiler alert, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle.
Oh, okay.
Is going to make an appearance in this story. Bill Nye, not Bill Nye.
No, Bill Nye, the science guy.
He's dating Anna Wintour.
Bill Nye?
Yeah, Bill Nye,
the
actor.
I was like, Anna Wintour is dating a nerd?
Well, I think the story's out on
Good
Bill.
for them.
And Mel Gibson.
Mel Gibson, okay.
So
a
those
real murderer's row here.
So this story is...
I've never heard. Is it a cartoon or
No.
it's a live action movie? Yeah, it's weird because that would have 1997 would have been like prime me just seeing anything that's playing in a movie theater because I have nothing else to do as a teen.
Well, I think that this was very much marketed towards like girls.
Yeah.
And it's, the main characters are two young girls.
Right.
But there was like a book that came with, I don't know if we bought it at the bookstore or with the movie, but
yeah,
so it had like stills from the movie, but it was telling the real sort of story here. So yeah, I loved it because it was like, it's set in this very magical feeling forest where they see the fairies. It's lovely.
Now I don't know a lot. Is this the Arthur Conan Doyle adjacent, the whole story, or to not just the movie, but the story?
Yes.
Okay. Because I've heard about this, but I don't know the details about it.
Yes.
Actually, yeah. What was it? One of the topics we did recently, fairies were a little part of it.
Yeah.
And that's what I saw in my research, that they were so widely thought as an actual thing. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle was fooled.
And people still do think they're a real thing.
Yeah.
So. This story, we're heading back to 1917, and Elsie Wright and Frances Griffiths are cousins. They're very close. And this is, Frances was living in Elsie's home during World War I. So this is like right kind of at the tail end of World War I. And the Spanish flu was,
oh yeah, wreaking havoc. Yeah.
So that's giving you a little bit of cultural context, but we're in England, a little village called Cottingley, which is in West Yorkshire. So this incident is really set, like I said, mainly in this sort of nearby woods and stream near the house of the one cousin.
Okay.
And they would spend a lot of time there, and they would later say that this is where they started encountering the fairies.
Okay.
And I mean, in the movie, it does feel like very magical, like streams and lush. Yes. So they start believing that, or saying they're seeing fairies. And they take 5 photographs in total throughout this whole story. So these photographs are really the crux of this story.
Right.
And what really becomes quite a hot topic of debate. And the girls said that those were real fairies in the photos that they, see and interact with when they're in the woods. Apparently one of the girls, I think the one who lived in the home, her father owned a camera. Okay.
Yeah, because if this is like the 19 teens,
right?
Cameras aren't like crazy, I don't know, novel at this point, but like still pretty, still a pretty new technology, right. Still not something everyone had.
Right. And Kodak will actually kind of get involved in this story a little later. I think that they were interested in, trying to verify exactly.
Right.
So the initially the father of the girl sort of poo-pooed the pictures and said it just looks like the girls are holding cardboard cutouts with sort of taped to hat pins, those long pins that women would put in their hair to keep their hats on.
Yeah, it's just like a very long, where are they, metal, bone?
Yeah. And so it looked like they sort of cut out these fairies and just sort of pasted them on, so they were holding them up kind of like puppets almost. And the most famous of the photo was with Frances, who she was with a group of small winged figures dancing around her, which is known as the fairy ring photo. And that's probably the most well-known when you would search for this story, the one that you would probably see. But they're all of them are easy to find.
Yeah.
And
old Francis got himself a scanner at some point.
Francis is a girl.
Francis is the girl. I was thinking that after I said it. Oh, a girl can't get a scanner?
Not in 1917.
Well, but she'd probably be the only one alive until scanner technology existed.
Fair point. So that's when, this is sort of where the story you would think it would have ended, right? Her father is not believing her. And they're saying, you can't take my camera out to the woods anymore.
Yeah, you're trying to come up with hoaxes out there.
Right.
And I mean, I remember like not being allowed to fool around with my parents' camera in the 90s because film was expensive. So I can't imagine how expensive it was back then.
Right. Yeah. In 1919, which is 2 years after these first few photos were taken, the mother of one of the girls attended a meeting of Theosophical, which I'd never heard of that.
No.
It's a Theosophical Society, which is actually, I looked them up and they have like a building in New York City.
They have a building, okay. And that's what they're known for, having a building.
So it's a society that, seems to be an international one.
Okay, but it's like a religion?
And continues.
Or like a secret society?
No, it's nothing like that. It's actually, they sort of look into and try to research some of these more...
okay. Audacious claims?
Into like, trying to... Their statement is that they say that they promote open-minded inquiry into world religions, philosophy, science, and the arts. So the mother went to this meeting, and it was a meeting on topic. The topic was fairies.
Okay.
She took along 2 photographs that the girls had taken to show at the meeting, and the organizers of the society were so impressed with these pictures that they asked if they could take them to their annual conference a few months later. And then there was a man named Edward Gardner who was a leading influential member of the organization, and he ended up sending the pictures off to a number of experts who, insisted that they were not tampered with in any way, and that they were very much real, undoubtedly real. So a lot of I should have said this in the beginning, a lot of my research comes from the Independent.
The newspaper?
The newspaper.
Okay.
And
like their original articles about this, or
no,
more recent?
Yeah, this is a more recent one written by David Barnett called The True Story of the Cottingley Fairies Hoax, and also a little place called Wikipedia.
It's interesting to me that they had to verify that the pictures were real, just because it doesn't sound like somebody necessarily thought like these were airbrushed or something like that. Like they thought, like the dad at least thought, like this is, a little puppet on a stick. But
yeah.
I guess the stick wasn't there. Like it you couldn't see it. So
right. I think that
they were saying, they removed the sticks. Right. Okay.
Yeah. So now this is starting to get a lot of attention, right?
Mm-hmm.
And eventually it catches the eye of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle.
Yeah, as most things do.
It's true. He comes up a lot. And he was, really into spiritualism, if you know very much about him.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of Sherlock Holmes stories have like elements of debunking something supernatural in them.
Right. And he would eventually, a few years later, 1922, he wrote The Coming of the Fairies, where he included these pictures of the girls and the fairies. He also sort of, because he was working on this book a couple years before that, had actually sent cameras or a camera to the girls to try to take pictures again.
Okay.
And the girls obviously felt immense pressure that this famous writer was asking them for pictures. So what do you think a couple of girls are going to do?
I can't imagine that their dad was thrilled. Like, I don't want you using the camera anymore. And then it's like, some old man sent us a camera and told us to take pictures for him. Oh, that's fine. Yeah, sure.
Gosh. So as you can see, this is starting to really snowball.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of skepticism. There still is a lot of skepticism.
Yeah.
A lot of people are 100% says without a doubt this is a hoax.
Yeah.
And in the 1980s, when the cousins were now much older, they finally admitted that 4 of the 5 photos had been a hoax, that they did exactly what the father had said, that they had cut out drawings of fairies from this book, a popular children's book at the time called Princess Mary's Gift Book.
Mm-hmm.
And they posed with the cutouts in the forest. But the younger cousin maintained until her death that the 5th and final photograph was genuine and that they had indeed seen real fairies.
So she basically claimed it was real, but they could only get the one picture, so they faked the rest of the pictures.
I don't think she's explicitly said like that's what happened in that order.
Okay.
It's just referred to as the 5th and final photo.
Right.
And
okay. So she might be saying like we were taking fake pictures and then real fairies showed up.
Possibly, but
which is like a very fairy thing to do.
But I'm telling you, we have a fairy. We have ghosts living in our house.
You said we have a ghost, not a fairy.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna change it to a fairy. That seems nicer.
Yeah, it seems less terrifying.
This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Whether you're selling a little or a lot, Shopify helps you do your thing, however you cha-ching. From the launch your online shop stage, all the way to the we just hit 1 million orders stage. No matter what stage you're in, Shopify's there to help you grow. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/special offer, all lowercase. That's shopify.com/special offer.
Well, so she also, the cousin who said the 5th photo was real, also insisted on the fact that they did actually see fairies before the photo thing even began.
Oh,
so
okay.
They were genuinely really
like
visited by fairies.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, her daughter who was interviewed, I think in maybe like 10, 15 years ago about this.
Mm-hmm.
She was talking about her mom needing the immense pressure and stress of the public attention that this event caused on these girls.
Mm-hmm.
Really, she never really was able to get over that. And that she says that her mother was such an honest person and just so genuine, and she knew how much this event stressed her out, that she just truly believed that her mom
that it
genuinely
was real.
Saw fairies.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And was upset that people thought she was a liar, because in all aspects of her life she was not a liar. She told the truth.
Right. And here's the part where you're not going to like this.
Okay.
Her daughter says that she was psychic.
Okay.
And that her grandmother was psychic. She's saying she's not, that the daughter is not.
Uh-huh.
But she has a daughter, so a granddaughter, who she also believes has psychic abilities. So that, and she's the way she sort of describes psychic abilities, which I think makes a lot of sense, is that there are just some kinds of people who who are somehow able to really be a little more in tune or tap into something that, which means potentially seeing something or feeling something that things that other people cannot.
Yeah. Or
not something like, I'm reading, minds, or I'm like telling the future, but yeah.
Or just like having access to information that they shouldn't. Like I've read about people who explain psychic phenomena as being able to kind of like tap into some kind of like universal intelligence, some like universal knowledge. And there are, people throughout history. I can't think of any off the top of my head. I have one head. Because I was just watching something recently where it was somebody pretty famous that they were talking about, but that there have been famous people throughout history, famous inventors who have said like, oh, this like came to me in a vision. Like I was told this, I felt this, like this felt like it was coming from outside myself, and that doesn't necessarily mean that they, said that they could move things with their mind or whatever, but that something outside themselves was giving them this knowledge.
Yeah. So that's sort of where I think that there's still a fascination with this story, but that's sort of where things stand right now. The daughter kind of ends this interview saying that, technology has become so advanced. Like, is there any way that we could try to make a scientific explanation for what was going on in those, at least the picture that her mother claimed was real.
Right.
But
well, I was going to say that this like kind of reminded me of, I saw a post somewhere today where somebody was asking, they were like, how can I help teach my grandmother the difference between like real photos and AI generated photos? Because I guess their grandmother had like already fallen for a few things on Facebook or whatever. That it just, we're talking about how crazy AI is getting and how you're not going to know what's real and what's not soon, if not already. And it's just kind of crazy to hear like, 100 years ago, people were also having, a version of this with like trying to figure out if film was a thing that could be verified, if it was a thing that could be trusted. Yeah. Have you ever seen there are a bunch of like YouTube videos where people have claimed to have caught fairies on camera.
I have seen some of those. Yeah.
There's like an old guy that does some that, I don't know. When I look at this guy, I think like, this guy's not this good at Blender. Like, I don't think he'd be able to do this. Like, it's pretty good. So I'm like,
I mean, he could have someone doing
his
it
grandson
for him.
or something. Yeah. But man, they're neat. They're fun to watch.
Yeah.
Little fairy videos.
Yeah.
Hey, whether they're real or not, they're entertaining.
Yeah, as long as they're nice.
Yeah, as long as they're not causing some kind of mischief, taking things and moving them around the house.
Which is what our fairy does.
This is also making me wonder if anyone was able to ever find the book that they claim to have cut these fairies out of to see if they match or not.
I don't know that anyone ever said that they did.
I mean, I guess if they're saying it's faked, people are going to take their word for it. They're believing that, they are coming. But I guess you would also maybe look for that book to see like, are there photo that they claim is real. Are there any pictures in here that look like the fairies in that photo or not? Maybe
we should head to the library.
Maybe we should. Just because I was thinking about a case recently, like I'm a private detective, a case recently I was working on. A case I was reading about of an old guy who like made a deathbed confession about like Area 51 stuff. And it was like very, very compelling. He was very authentic. And the thing that ultimately debunked him is that the Polaroid picture he had of an alien, somebody found the exact same toy. Like you can, when you look at it, it's like, oh, that's definitely what that is. Okay. So this guy's full of shit. Like he faked this. Everything's fake, of course.
Yeah.
Which again is like, I don't know what I would kind of think about something like this. Like if I got a crazy picture of anything, the last thing on my mind would be to like try and make fakes, additional fakes, just so I had more pictures.
Yeah.
It's like, nah, the one picture,
Yeah.
and if people don't believe it, they don't believe it, but I'm not going to try and fake a bunch to convince them.
Right. I think what was interesting about this case too is that I think that the girls got so much flack for this quote hoax.
Yeah.
But they were not, they were kind of just playing and showed it to
yeah. They weren't trying to like,
family.
Trick the entire country.
Yeah. It just sort of really took off.
Oh, sounds like it was their mom's fault.
Yeah.
To be honest. I guess she was a believer if she went to that.
Yeah.
So, that also sounds like the kind of shit that wasn't easy to like figure out back then and find where you would go to a meeting for something like that. So yeah, she must have really put some work into it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it's neat. It's neat to think about fairies, magical beings living in the forest.
It is fun to think about.
Yeah. Well, thank you for the story.
Thank you for listening.
If you want to follow us on social media, you can follow us at WannaHearPod. And if you have any emails you'd like to send us, wannahearpod@gmail.com, so you can send them. Suggestions for topics, weird things that have happened to you.
Yes, please.
Anything. You can send it there. And if we don't like it, we'll throw it out. Put it in the spam filter.
Well, no.
All right. That's it for this week.
See you next week.
Thanks for listening.
Want to Hear Something Weird is a Clamor audio production, distributed by the Cloud 10 Network. Hosted and executive produced by Tom Reynolds and me, Laura Anderson. Executive produced by Aaron Hilliard.
Clamor General Manager Rich Statter. Associate Producer Ethan Aronson. Post-production supervised by Devin Ruskin. Production Assistant Samara Mullick. Special thanks to Sim Sarna and Saiba Krieger at Cloud 10.